survival sheltered in guide or quarantined, we can make it. So a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about today, and just some common sense things. We're not going to do a toilet paper tureen, or Martha Stewart will have to roll that out on her own. A couple things that just to think about when you're washing your hands. When you turn on the water, wash your hands and then do the soap. But as you wash, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. I wish it was my birthday, but it's not today. Wash them off. Then one thing to do is take a towel, shut off the water so that you're not touching the dirty handle that you went down to. Dry your hand, and then use this to go out the door. Doorknobs, anything else, and then dispose of it. It'll help you keep things really, really clean. Want to do this, remember, this is for when you get tired of ordering out from your local restaurants. Just want to do something at home. As always, when you're cooking in the kitchen, it's a great time to involve the kids, whether it's just peeling carrots, or if you're baking, put the ingredients in a bowl and let them add, and then stir and stand back. But if you've got your kids, or you can even do a video with your grandkids so that they can watch you cook, and then share the cookies later. Some good ideas. We'll get through this. We'll have some fun. Preparing a meal together also brings us all together, as we all take time to reset and go back to some of the basics, the things that are good for all of us. So I'll take a little pause here, and then we'll start back with doing our at-home pot roast. Back again, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and it's probably more important now than it ever has, but something that you want to take and keep with you as we start to cook at home, and just general food safety. So probably the best recognized source for that information is if you go to USDA Food Safety Guidelines. If you Google that, I think that you'll find that you've got everything there from sanitation, separate cooking ideas, temperature, storage, thawing, and preparation. We'll start off with this sort of basic cooking recipe, and then we'll move on from there. So the pot roast, I've found probably my favorite piece of meat. It's a chuck roast. Chuck has, you can see by the marbling, and there's some extra fat in there. Look for what's on sale. This recipe will work with basically just about any of the cuts. Found that you don't need a steak for this. This is a process called braising. Braising adds tenderness to those somewhat tougher cuts. Also adds a lot of flavor. So this is about a 3 to 4 pound chuck roast. I've got 6 potatoes, Idaho potatoes. It can be anything you want. I washed these first and kept the skins on. If you've got extra help, you can use the kids to peel them for fun. Have them find out where the eyes are. So I washed these in water, probably about a gallon of water and a cup of white vinegar to help clean them up. Carrots that I peeled and cut in rough cut, different pieces. There's about 3 cups there. About a cup of celery, 2 large onions, just sort of a rough chop, because those are going to cut through. Garlic, and just a real quick test, or showing the garlic, is that I find it's always easy just to tap the garlic, take the peel off, just give it a whack, and throw it in the pot. Along with that, I've got 2 cups of beef base. You can find this. There's concentrates that are refrigerated bases, or you can check online if you even some of your stores have it available. If not, just the regular beef stock will work just fine. It's a great ingredient. It works well. See, I've got a Dutch oven. The Dutch oven is great. I've got it up to about medium heat on this, if you gas. But if you don't have a Dutch oven, any thick skillet or a fry pan, saute pan will work. The idea is that the more you can retain the heat, the better it will be to give it even cooking. I put this coat at the bottom with vegetable oil. You don't have to use olive oil. I think sometimes we overuse that. Prefer canola oil because it has a higher smoke point. So I'm going to put these in. Give the onions in. You can hear those in the pot. The oil was good and hot. You want that to happen, but you don't want an intense heat, because all we're going to do with this is just let it, what we call hot enough to make it sweat, so that you can start to see the onions start to just barely become a little translucent, I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. And then just another little thing that I like to do, and you'll listen to a lot of chefs that will say, how do you add a lot of flavor? Well, I've always loved thyme, dry thyme, fresh thyme, anytime, and there's never enough time. So just add that in as we're starting to sweat the vegetables. Starting to become a little translucent. I'll also add just a little bit of pepper. And we'll just give those a quick stir. As you can tell, the kitchen's starting to smell a lot like dinner. By the way, you're all invited over. So we give these about 3, 4, 5 minutes to become just a little bit juicy. So I'm going to take these, turn off the burner, take these off, and I'm going to put them aside in another bowl. It'll leave those nice vegetables down at the bottom. So we're going to go back, heat this up again. A little more oil. Just a touch. Let that brown up. And then what I'm going to do next is take my my roast. And actually, I've already taken this off. I've taken a paper towel, dried it. The reason we wanted to do that basically is so that it will brown the moisture. If it's too wet when it hits the hot surface, we want this to brown up. It's sort of caramelizing the sugars in the meat that gives it that brown flavor, and that's really, it's some people say it's searing it, but I think really the intention or the result really is that you get that great crust and great flavor, and that's really what we want to emphasize. So taking a little bit of salt, any kind of salt works. Let's put a little bit of that on, just a touch of pepper. Flip it over so we can get both sides. Cut that off again. Great looking roast, by the way. Salt. So I'm going to bring this over to the pot. It's gotten nice and hot. You'll hear it nice sizzles. So we're going to put that in for about 5 minutes aside and let it get nice and brown. So in the meantime, what I've done is I've gone ahead and preheated my oven at 325. It's convection baked. The meat has started to brown nicely. Go ahead and give this a flip. Now, you don't want it to just turn a brownish gray. You want to get a nice dark brown crust on the meat. Make sure that we get it a nice, good sear. So you'll tell, and you can also get if your nose is tuned in. That's a good thing. Make sure that you can start to smell the browning, which I think is a marvelous smell. Adds a little bit of umami to it, which is that other taste, that savory, hearty taste that we all love and enjoy. So as the other side's browning up here, we're going to do this at a somewhat low temperature, 325, 300 degrees, and we're going to cook it for about 5 hours. That length of time at a lower temperature, slow and low, really helps do the flavor I did. The house will smell great for probably the next 24 hours. My wife will be happy. We'll put this up and take it over to the grandkids and kids, and they'll have a great dinner tonight. So, oh yeah, we're starting to get a nice brown. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a great browning of it. Here we go. Yum. So now that we've got a nice browning going on both sides, What I'm going to do is go ahead and add back in the onions and garlic. Going to add lots of flavor back into the roast. I'm then also going to add 2 cups of beef stock back in. Just to cover it. Yum. We're going to add a little acid. I just got to have a tablespoon of tomato paste that I'm going to mix in. Then we're going to set it up for 5 hours. What I'm going to do after about 2.5 hours then is I'll add back in the potatoes, carrots, and celery. If I put them in now, they'll pretty much just disintegrated. So we'll check back in about 2.5 or 3 hours. This process will take about 5 hours altogether. So while we're doing this, search the internet for recipes, make your shopping list, have some fun, figure out how to cook with the kids, and we'll be back. Oh, sorry for the delay. I was out getting our victory garden started with our grandkids. We've got all our seeds started and potted. Hopefully we'll get a little growth. It's a little early in the Midwest, but be a great thing to have in your yard or in a pot or share with the neighbors. As you can see, I've taken the pot out. What I did about an hour and a half before it was finished is I added the vegetables, the carrots, the potatoes, a little celery, and a little more onions. So it finished off in the pot, closed at 300 degrees for about another hour and a half. Came out perfect. You can see here, nice and tender. That beef just pulls apart. It's getting a little late. We're getting a little hungry. Chef Mike over and out, and bon appetit.